Lily Johnson, a bright but unusually quiet 9-year-old girl, walked into the Maple Grove Pediatric Clinic with her father, Mark Johnson. The waiting area buzzed with children's chatter, yet Lily sat silently, clutching a worn teddy bear and avoiding eye contact. Dr. Emily Carter, a well-known pediatrician in her mid-30s, observed this behavior as she reviewed Lily's file. Something in Lily's nervous glances and the way she flinched when Mark touched her shoulder raised Emily's professional instincts. She greeted them warmly, yet her eyes didn't miss the tension between father and daughter. Emily had encountered shy children before, but this felt different. There was a heavy air of unease that couldn't be explained by ordinary nerves. While Mark spoke politely about Lily's recurring stomach pains, Emily noticed the girl's hands trembling. Her intuition told her there was more to the story than what was being said, and she decided to proceed with caution while carefully observing their interaction. As Dr. Carter led Lily into the examination room, she encouraged Mark to remain seated in the waiting area, explaining that children sometimes opened up more when parents weren't around. Mark hesitated, then reluctantly agreed, his expression unreadable. Inside, Emily noticed Lily relax slightly, though the fear in her eyes lingered. The doctor began asking simple questions about school, friends, and favorite hobbies. Lily answered in short, hesitant sentences, her voice almost a whisper. Emily then gently inquired about the stomach pains. Instead of describing symptoms, Lily stared at the floor, twisting the ear of her teddy bear. Something in her body language felt like a silent plea for help. Dr. Carter decided an ultrasound would be necessary to determine if there were any underlying medical issues. However, deep down she sensed that the real problem might not be entirely physical. She reassured Lily with a kind smile, determined to uncover the truth without frightening her further. While preparing the ultrasound equipment, Dr. Carter tried to make the atmosphere less intimidating. She dimmed the harsh lights slightly and played soft background music, hoping to ease Lily's tension. As the gel was applied to her abdomen, the child winced but stayed quiet, her wide eyes fixed on the screen. Dr. Carter watched the monitor intently as she moved the probe, expecting to see something minor like intestinal irritation. But what she saw left her puzzled. Faint, irregular marks inside Lily's tissue, patterns that didn't seem like a medical condition she had encountered before. She paused for a moment, her mind racing through possibilities, but chose not to alarm Lily. Instead, she gently asked a few more questions while finishing the scan. Something about this case was unsettling, not just medically but emotionally. Dr. Carter knew this was only the beginning of a mystery she couldn't ignore. Dr. Emily Carter finished the ultrasound with an unsettling feeling. As she printed the scan images, she noticed faint bruising patterns beneath Lily's skin that could not be explained by a simple fall. Her professional instincts screamed that something was wrong. Emily walked out to the waiting room and saw Mark Johnson scrolling on his phone, his face calm but distant. She asked him to wait while she ran a few additional tests. Mark's eyes flickered with mild irritation, but he nodded. Back in the exam room, Emily sat beside Lily and asked in a soft voice if anything unusual had happened at home. Lily's lips trembled as she whispered, "I can't tell. Daddy said not to." Emily's heart sank. She gently reassured the girl that she was safe, and that the clinic was a place where she could speak freely. The tension in the room deepened as Emily realized the situation might involve more than a medical problem. It could be a cry for help, hidden behind silence and fear. Emily decided to run a secondary ultrasound, focusing on Lily's lower abdomen. As the screen lit up again, she noticed something unusual. A distinct internal injury that looked like pressure trauma, not illness. Her medical training told her that such patterns rarely occurred by accident. Emily asked Lily softly, "Did you fall or get hurt while playing?" Lily shook her head quickly, her wide eyes glistening with tears. Emily felt a chill. Could this be abuse, or was there another explanation? Mark's earlier hesitation now replayed in her mind like a warning. She carefully saved the images and began documenting every detail for further review. Her thoughts raced. If this was truly harm caused by someone, she had an obligation to act immediately. Emily took a deep breath, trying to stay calm for Lily's sake. She knew she had to find the right moment to confront Mark without alarming him or putting Lily at greater risk. When Emily returned to the waiting area, she studied Mark closely. His posture was tense, though he tried to mask it with a polite smile. Emily handed him a consent form for additional imaging tests, watching his reaction carefully. He signed it quickly, almost too quickly, as if eager to end the visit. Emily's unease grew. She quietly requested a nurse to keep Mark occupied while she reviewed the images in her office. As the nurse made casual conversation with him, Emily zoomed in on the ultrasound photos, her pulse quickening. The irregularities were real, and they told a story that didn't match Mark's calm demeanor. Emily realized she might need to involve social services or law enforcement if her suspicions were confirmed. For now, she had to tread carefully. She decided to bring Lily in for one last conversation alone, hoping to earn the girl's trust and uncover the truth before it was too late. Dr. Emily Carter gently led Lily into a private playroom adjacent to the clinic, a space designed to make children feel at ease. Toys, books, and soft lighting gave the room a warm, comforting atmosphere. Emily sat on the floor next to Lily, lowering her voice so it sounded more like a friendly chat than an interrogation. She handed Lily a small notebook and some crayons, encouraging her to draw anything she liked. At first, the child hesitated, scribbling meaningless shapes. Then, almost unconsciously, she drew a small house with a dark figure standing outside and a crying child inside. Emily's breath caught as she realized the drawing might be a silent cry for help. She asked softly, "Is this how you feel at home?" Lily's big brown eyes filled with tears that she nodded slightly. Emily knew she had to act, but she also understood that any misstep could put Lily in greater danger. She reassured the girl, promising she would protect her, no matter what. Inside, Emily's heart pounded as the pieces of the puzzle began to form a terrifying picture. Mark Johnson's presence in the waiting area weighed heavily on Emily's mind. She returned to him with a calm but deliberate expression, explaining that Lily needed a few more tests to rule out anything serious. Mark gave a faint smile but avoided direct eye contact, as if he didn't want to engage. Emily sensed an underlying tension in his body language, his fingers tapping restlessly against his knee, his sharp glances whenever someone walked past. She excused herself and returned to her office, where she reviewed Lily's medical records in detail. Previous visits to other clinics showed inconsistent explanations for minor injuries. Emily began to suspect that someone had been covering up the real cause. To ensure Lily's safety, she discreetly called a child protection specialist she trusted. She didn't reveal all details yet, but she described enough to raise immediate concern. As Emily hung up the phone, her determination hardened. Whatever Mark was hiding, she would uncover it before the day was over. Emily rejoined Lily, who was sitting quietly with her teddy bear. She knelt beside her and whispered, "Lily, you are very brave. If someone is hurting you or making you scared, you can tell me." Lily hesitated, her lips trembling, as though the words were trapped inside. After a moment, she whispered, "Daddy says I can't talk about the secret." Emily's pulse quickened. "What secret?" she asked gently. Lily's hands clutched the teddy bear tighter. "There's something inside me, and he doesn't want anyone to see." The cryptic words sent a shiver down Emily's spine. Could Lily's injuries be linked to something even more disturbing than abuse? Emily decided the only way forward was to re-examine the ultrasound carefully and consult a senior radiologist immediately. She walked Lily back to the waiting room, keeping her expression neutral so Mark wouldn't suspect anything. But deep inside, Emily knew this case had taken a turn into something far darker than she initially imagined. Emily returned to the radiology room, determined to analyze every detail of Lily's ultrasound. She adjusted the contrast, magnifying each frame on the monitor, searching for anything unusual. What she found made her breath catch. A small shadow-like formation near Lily's lower abdomen that didn't resemble any typical medical condition. It wasn't a tumor or a cyst. It looked like something foreign lodged inside. Confused and alarmed, she replayed the scan multiple times, hoping it was a technical glitch. But the shape remained. Emily knew she needed a second opinion, so she called Dr. Samuel Rivera, a senior radiologist known for solving complex cases. She kept her voice calm, careful not to raise alarm within earshot of the waiting area. When Samuel examined the scan remotely, his silence was unsettling. "Emily," he said finally, "I've never seen anything like this. Whatever it is, it's not natural." Her heart sank, and a rush of protective instinct toward Lily surged through her. She realized this discovery could expose something Mark desperately wanted to keep hidden. Meanwhile, Mark was growing restless in the waiting room. He checked his watch repeatedly and paced near the door as if contemplating leaving before the results were discussed. Emily, aware of his anxiety, approached with a composed demeanor, masking her concerns. "The tests are taking longer than expected," she explained, offering a warm but firm smile. Mark forced a laugh and nodded, yet Emily noticed his clenched jaw and narrowed eyes. She couldn't shake the feeling that his nervousness wasn't about Lily's health, but about what they might discover. When she returned to the lab, Samuel's voice echoed in her mind. "This isn't just a medical issue. This is evidence." Emily knew she had to proceed carefully, not only as a doctor, but as someone who might need to protect a child from a dangerous situation. Her next step would require both strategy and courage, especially since Mark's behavior was becoming more unpredictable with each passing minute. Emily called Lily back for a brief follow-up scan, using it as an opportunity to gently ask more questions. "Lily, does your tummy ever hurt?" she asked, moving the ultrasound wand gently. The girl nodded faintly. "Daddy said it's because of the secret." Emily's heart tightened. She continued scanning, taking multiple high-resolution images to document the abnormalities she had spotted earlier. After completing the scan, she saved all files to a secure drive and locked them with a password only she and Samuel knew. She returned Lily to the waiting room, but kept a close eye on Mark's body language. His shoulders stiffened when he saw the additional images being saved. Emily realized that confronting him directly could be risky. Instead, she decided to discreetly call Child Protective Services and provide her findings. The truth was beginning to emerge, and she was prepared to fight for Lily, no matter what Mark's reaction might be. Emily walked back into the waiting area, her mind racing with what she had discovered. Mark looked up immediately, his gaze sharp and almost challenging. "Is Lily ready to go?" he asked, forcing a strained smile. Emily maintained her composure, replying, "I'd like to discuss the results with you privately." His expression faltered, and he hesitated before following her into the consultation room. The moment the door closed, Emily's tone shifted, professional but firm. "There's something unusual in Lily's ultrasound. I need to understand her medical history," she said, sliding a set of images across the table. Mark glanced at them, but didn't respond. Instead, he shifted uncomfortably, his fingers tapping against the table in an erratic rhythm. Emily could sense his resistance, but she refused to let the conversation drop. She carefully chose her words, knowing that pushing too hard could make him defensive or worse, cause him to leave with Lily before she could protect the girl. The room felt tense, every second stretching like a wire ready to snap. Mark leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "She's fine. There's no need to look for problems that don't exist," he muttered, his voice colder now. Emily's instincts told her this wasn't just denial, it was fear. "Mark," she said gently but firmly, "Lily mentioned a secret. I'm a doctor, but I'm also required to protect her if something harmful is happening. You can trust me." His eyes narrowed. "You don't know what you're talking about," he snapped. The sudden change in his tone sent a chill through Emily. She could see his hands trembling slightly, a sign that her words were hitting a nerve. She took a deep breath and continued, "I want what's best for her. If you don't explain what's happening, I'll have to involve the authorities." Mark's jaw tightened as his breathing grew heavier, and Emily realized that she had just crossed an invisible line, one that might lead to an explosive confrontation. The silence that followed was suffocating. Mark's gaze locked on Emily, and for a moment she wondered if he might storm out with Lily. But then he leaned forward and whispered, "You wouldn't understand." His voice was filled with something darker than anger. It was fear. Emily softened her tone, recognizing an opportunity. "Help me understand. If something is wrong, Lily needs us both to protect her." Mark's eyes flickered, torn between defending his secret and seeking help. Emily knew she had to keep him engaged, so she added, "There are ways to fix this, but I need the truth." Her words seemed to strike a chord, because Mark finally looked away, staring at the floor. He was crumbling, but Emily also knew that if she pushed too hard now, he might retreat again. She glanced at the clock, knowing that every minute counted. If she didn't get answers soon, she would have to take action herself. Emily noticed Mark's hands trembling as he finally exhaled. his shoulders slumping as though the weight of the past 18 years had suddenly become too heavy to carry. He glanced at Lily through the glass window of the consultation room, his expression conflicted. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," he muttered under his breath. Emily leaned forward, her voice steady but compassionate. "Mark, whatever it is, I can't help unless you tell me. Lily's safety is my priority." Mark swallowed hard, his eyes filled with both fear and guilt. She's not my biological daughter," he admitted. Emily froze, absorbing the weight of his confession. "Then why would she say she's scared?" she asked gently. Mark's lips quivered. "Because someone has been threatening us. Someone from my past." His vague statement sent a shiver down Emily's spine. Suddenly, the medical mystery was no longer just about Lily's health. It was about survival. The stakes were higher than Emily could have imagined, and she realized this secret might unravel something much darker. Mark's tone shifted from shaky to almost desperate as he continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I took Lily in when she was just a baby, after her mother, my sister, disappeared. No one knows this because I was afraid the people who took her would come back." Emily's eyes widened. "The people who took her," she repeated, her curiosity now tinged with alarm. Mark nodded, his gaze fixed on the floor. "They're dangerous. I left everything behind to keep her safe." Emily processed his words, her medical instincts colliding with the raw truth of a man living under fear. "If that's true, we need to get her somewhere safe," Emily said, her tone urgent yet calm. Mark looked up, his face pale. "I came here today because I think they've found us again. Lily's been acting strange because she saw someone outside the clinic earlier. Someone I hoped I'd never see again." Emily's heart pounded. The ultrasound was no longer the focus. Protecting Lily was now the only thing that mattered. Emily took a deep breath, trying to steady her voice. "Mark, this is serious. If what you're saying is true, you can't face this alone. You need help." Mark shook his head vigorously, fear etched across his face. "No, the police can't be trusted. They're connected to them. If I talk, Lily will be taken away." Emily felt a surge of determination. "Then we'll find another way," she insisted, her voice low but resolute. She walked to the door, peeking into the hallway where Lily sat quietly, unaware of the storm brewing around her. Emily's mind raced with possibilities, every scenario more dangerous than the last. Could Mark's story be real, or was this paranoia rooted in guilt or trauma? Either way, the fear in his eyes was undeniable. She returned to the room and said firmly, "If you want my help, you must trust me. Tell me everything, and I'll protect her as if she were my own." Mark's silence lingered for a moment before he nodded slightly, signaling that the darkest part of his secret was yet to come. The clinic felt unnaturally quiet as Emily closed the blinds, shutting out the unsettling view of the parking lot. She sensed that time was running out. Mark's breathing grew heavier, and he kept glancing at the door as if expecting someone to burst in. "Emily, they're watching me. I'm sure of it," he whispered, his voice trembling. Emily resisted the urge to panic, focusing instead on Lily's safety. "We need to move her to a secure location," she said firmly. Mark hesitated, his fear palpable. "If we leave now, they might follow us," he murmured. Emily considered her options, quickly forming a plan. "I'll call someone I trust," she assured him. Meanwhile, she discreetly sent a message to her friend, a former investigator, to come to the clinic immediately. Lily, sitting quietly in the corner, looked at Emily with wide, trusting eyes. Emily knelt beside her and said softly, "We're going to keep you safe, sweetheart, I promise." Every second felt heavier as the tension thickened. Emily knew they had little time left to act before whoever was lurking outside made their next move. A sudden noise outside the clinic jolted everyone. Mark grabbed Lily instinctively, holding her close as footsteps echoed in the hallway. Emily's pulse quickened as she peeked through the door's narrow window. A tall man in a dark jacket was standing near the reception desk, his posture stiff and watchful. She didn't recognize him, but the unease in her gut told her this was no coincidence. Emily turned back to Mark and whispered, "Is that who you were afraid of?" Mark's face turned pale. "Yes, that's him." Emily's mind raced. She needed to protect both of them, but confronting the stranger could escalate the danger. She motioned for Mark and Lily to stay hidden in the ultrasound room, then stepped quietly into the hallway. Her heart pounded as the man glanced at her, his cold eyes scanning her every move. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear boiling inside. The man smiled faintly but said nothing, turning his gaze toward the hallway that led to Mark and Lily. Emily felt an urgent chill. They needed to get out, now. Emily returned quickly to the ultrasound room, locking the door behind her.
"We don't have much time," she said sharply. Mark's hands trembled as he clutched Lily's backpack, ready to move. "There's a back exit through the staff hallway," Emily continued. She gathered her keys and led them toward the hidden corridor behind the supply room. Every creak of the floor sounded like a warning. Lily gripped Emily's hand, her eyes wide but trusting. As they approached the back door, a loud knock rattled the clinic walls, making them all freeze. Emily's phone buzzed. It was her investigator friend. "I'm outside. Head to the parking lot's east side." With no time to waste, Emily opened the emergency exit, guiding them into the cool evening air. She glanced over her shoulder and saw the shadowy man now standing at the front entrance, watching them intently. "Run," Emily whispered, pushing Mark and Lily forward. They sprinted toward the investigator's car, hearts pounding, knowing this escape was only the beginning of uncovering the chilling truth.
Emily, Mark, and Lily climbed into the investigator's car, breathing heavily as the doors locked. The investigator, James, was a sharp-eyed former detective who owed Emily a favor. He started the car and sped away from the clinic, glancing into the rearview mirror. "Who was that man?" he asked. Mark hesitated, gripping Lily's hand tightly. "He's someone who doesn't want the truth to come out," Mark muttered, his voice trembling. Emily explained everything. The ultrasound results, the lies, and the man who had been lurking around. James listened carefully, his expression hardening. "If this is connected to what I think, we're dealing with something much bigger than just a family issue," he said. Lily's innocent face looked confused, but Emily reassured her. "It's going to be okay, sweet girl." As they approached a secluded safe house James kept for emergencies, Emily felt a sense of both fear and determination. She knew tonight was just the start of a long fight. But for Lily's safety, they needed to uncover who was behind the shadows and why they wanted to silence the truth. Inside the safe house, James spread out files and old case documents on the table. "This isn't the first time I've seen someone like that stranger," he said, pointing to a blurry surveillance photo of a similar figure from years ago. Mark's face paled as he recognized the man. "That's him. He's been following me ever since I refused to sign those papers," Mark revealed. Emily's brow furrowed. "What papers?" Mark explained that a group was forcing him to surrender something linked to Lily's birth, something they wanted buried. Emily felt her heart sink as pieces started coming together. "This is why you were so afraid at the clinic," she said. Mark nodded silently. Lily, holding a small stuffed toy, whispered, "Daddy, are we in trouble?" Emily knelt beside her. "Not if we stay strong, Lily. We're going to fix this," she promised. James devised a plan to expose the truth, using evidence Emily had collected from the ultrasound. The secret, once revealed, could destroy powerful lies that had haunted Mark's family for years. The night stretched on as James prepared a strategy to confront the people behind this dark scheme. Emily's determination grew stronger. This was no longer just about Mark or Lily, but about uncovering the truth for justice. "We need to make this public," James said. "If they realize you're not afraid, they'll lose their hold." Emily agreed, gathering the ultrasound images and records. They planned to meet a trusted journalist the next morning, someone who could help bring their story to light. Mark, still shaken, finally managed to smile at Emily. "Thank you for believing me when no one else did," he said softly. Emily placed a hand on his shoulder. "We're not done yet, but we're getting closer." As dawn broke, the first rays of sunlight cut through the fear, bringing a sense of hope. Emily knew that their journey was just beginning, but Lily's future depended on them staying strong. If you want more gripping stories like this one, subscribe, like, and share our videos now for the most powerful justice stories.